Hailing from the backwoods of New Jersey, welcome to the Jersey Guys Music Podcast, where we feature in-depth music discussions and interviews with special guests from the worlds of hard rock, heavy metal, and AOR music. So settle in and crank it up. Now, here are your hosts, the Jersey Guys themselves, Tom and Mark.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Jersey Guys podcast. I'm Mark Ballo here with my co-host Tom Coyne. And as you can see, we got another co-host here joining us today. It's JJ Flynn, returning again. We've had him previously. Welcome, JJ.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, and joining us today as our special guest is a singer, songwriter, multi-instrumentalist. This is a guy, his debut album came out in 1980, Island Nights. It's a real cult classic amongst the AOR fans out there. He's co-written a bunch of songs for the likes of people like Don Johnson, BJ Thomas, even Tina Turner and the Bay City Rollers. So we're going to talk about all that stuff tonight. Please welcome to the show, Tony Sciuto.
How you doing, guys? Good to see you.
Hi, Tony.
How are you? Thanks for joining us.
Great.
So I know Tom wanted, before we get into the bulk of your career, I know Tom wanted to talk a little bit about your brother's album that recently came out.
Sure.
Yeah, yes, I wanted to talk about a little bit about your brother Michael's album, The Edge, which I was somewhat instrumental of getting a reissue of that album recently with the bonus tracks, and it got put out done properly with a really good booklet, and it's an album that I've always adored since it came out, and it came out kind of at that late '90s period where it didn't get the love and attention it deserved. I know you played on it and you were instrumental in that album. If you could take us through a little bit of that album.
Well, I mean, Michael had a song called Living on the Edge, but it wasn't really finished. And I was working with a lyricist, Sammy Egorin, who we just lost a few years ago. He wrote my Island Nights album with me. And between the three of us, we finished the song Living on the Edge, and that started, I think, Michael's excitement to finish that album. And I was used by him to play guitar on a lot of the tracks, but I don't know a whole lot more than that. I was just involved with Living on the Edge, the song, and of course, I played on it. It was part of a band that we were working with at that time called the Pedestrians.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great track. Michael's very talented, and I'm glad that he got a chance to re-release this album, and hopefully it'll get the proper attention.
Yeah, sure.
It's getting another run around in Germany, and through Europe right now, and it's doing well. I spoke to her recently.
Oh, fantastic!
And, it's getting a little bit more attention that it should have got. It's a brilliant album. I mean, aside from his vocals, his bass playing is tremendous.
Bass player,
guy is some incredible bass player.
Yeah.
And me personally, I love AOR that has that high tech type of sound to it with the big production, a little bit of funky bass, so it was just a wonderful album. And I just wanted to plug the album a little bit for Michael, who's a very dear friend of mine.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Just a quick question, Tony. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry.
A quick question. When Michael produced it, so it's all self-produced, did he produce all the tracks in one go?
I think David Prater produced it.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And they did it, we did the tracks at High Heel Studios in Baltimore, Maryland, which is now called the Right Way Studios, which is a very popular studio in Baltimore. But it's been a lot of years since we did that.
Yeah.
So that's why it sounds, the production's great. So I didn't know David Prater produced it. Great sounding album. Yeah.
Yeah,
Really
David
nice.
Prater's a great producer, and it's too bad they didn't get a chance to do more stuff together.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was recorded in '89.
I'm sorry?
That was recorded in '89. That album.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, it could be. I was just joining the Little River Band at that time, so
Mhm.
Mm.
I
Yeah, which
was
Mark is going to get into
We'll
that.
talk about that later.
I was
So-
in and out of. Well, what I'm saying is I can't.
You had a
really-
lot of stuff going on besides that. Yeah, I get it.
When I came to town, I was like, "Hey, you want to go in the studio?"
Right.
And I really remembered exactly what year it was.
All right, I'll hand it off to JJ now. I know he's got a plethora of questions.
Well, I'll start right at the beginning for what I think is the beginning. So I remember reading, you're self-taught guitar, aren't you?
Yes, I mean, I love music. When I was around 6 or 7 years old, and then we saw the Beatles, like everybody's story. Billy Joel, Elton John, everybody says the same story, and it is true.
Mm.
Went out and bought a book, and I remember Michael and I were into baseball, and we wanted to be ball players. And Michael was up on the baseball field, and I called him down and said, "Come on down here. I'm going to teach you twist and shout." And from then on, we had a band, and it was a Beatle band, and we'd invite all the local girls in the neighborhood to pay a quarter to watch us rehearse and around the field so we could be in a hard day's night, you know.
Ooh.
Which was big money back then.
I'm sorry.
I said, which was big money back then, because I'm from that era.
Yeah.
A quarter was my allowance.
So that would have been 64, seeing the Beatles. So did you see those in Baltimore? Or did you go out of town to see
Yes,
them?
we saw them September the 13th, 1964. My aunt bought tickets for my brother and I and my two cousins, and we saw the Beatles. We didn't hear the Beatles because the girls were screaming so loud.
Yeah.
And we looked at each other, and we looked around and saw all these beautiful girls and said, "This is what we're going to do for the rest of it." And that's the truth.
So you started the band for all the right reasons.
Playing piano bar last night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Just the girls are a little bit older now.
Yeah.
So I was gonna ask. So the Beatles thing I think is fascinating. Another thing I also found quite interesting. So you had this period then, I suppose, where you were honing your guitar skills, getting to be a better player, and then it moves on to. So this was one of Brian Epstein's PR guys or something that you got in contact with?
No, it was actually Nathan Weiss.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so Nat Weiss was at a battle of the bands that my band, the Ravens, were playing at, and we were doing mostly my originals and a few cover Beatles songs. And I had a black shirt on with red polka dots. My hair was just like Lennon. I mean, he was my idol. And he, after the concert, after we did our show, he came up and wanted to talk to me. I said, "I want to take you to New York and groom you to be a child star. You'll meet the Stones and the Beatles and this, that, and the other." And my mom was against it because I was still about 13, back then. So he gave me his card, and I kept in touch with him through the years. But I mean, he really never accepted my demos. So I got signed with a publishing company in LA, and then got signed with a record company, which was not Epic at first. It was another company, a splinter company that went under, and then Epic kept me on, luckily.
Oh.
It was a little scary story, but it was cool. Portrait Records. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Aldo Nova.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Heart 2020, and luckily Frankie Rand, which was the head of the record company in LA, he saw something in my album and he wanted to remix a few tracks, and he did, and we released it. And unfortunately, it didn't do well in America, but it did well in Japan, in the country of Japan.
I was going to ask that. So, when you wrote that album, how long a time period was it before you actually, had the,
It was a culmination of the 70s. We kept entering the American Song Festival, and we winning. My lyricist and I, we did Captain Wonderful. We won with that. We won with a song called Melissa, which ended up becoming My Lisa for the Bay City Rollers.
Right.
And so we had our momentum going. And then I saw on the cover of the songwriting magazine my friend Steve Dorff. Now, Steve Dorff and I go back to when we were teenagers. He was in Baltimore for a very short time, and he saw our band with Michael in it and myself, and he joined our band. He was our keyboard player. So fast forward to 1970, 78, 79, we were looking for a producer to produce my album. And through the American Music Awards, since I reconnected with him, he accepted to produce my album, and it was a great time. It was the very first album that he really ever produced that was pop.
Yeah.
At that point, I
was going to ask that. So, bearing in mind, you wrote the songs over a different kind of period, and they put them all together. Were you thinking of doing an AOR album, or was it going to be pop rock?
Well, I didn't. I mean, there was a lack of communication between the record company, because the record company that signed me went under, and then I got pushed over to Epic, and I think that they saw me as like a Billy Joel, Barry Manilow, and I was more of a rocker. I was a front and center lead guitar player, and so that was a disconnect. But luckily, there's songs on that album that transcended that. Cafe LA. Got a License to Drive Me Crazy. Some of those songs still get streamed heavily every month all over the world. I'm proud of that.
Now, I was also thinking around that time, Rick Springfield was breaking out. So do you think Epic had this kind of, mold of actually someone?
I was before Rick Springfield as far as I was doing. And it was so ironic when he started coming out doing that. I was going, oh my, it's almost as if he knew, but it was just happenstance, of course. He's like, what, 6'5", and he's like this great looking guy. It was a different thing, but it was an interesting time, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. My first Japanese tour was fantastic. It was just like when I went in to watch Hard Day's Night for the first time. I experienced that, with my career, just in that small little minute time in 2 weeks in Japan.
It's interesting when you talk about the Beatles, and we talked about that a few minutes ago, because one of your former bandmates we had on the show a couple years ago, Peter Beckett.
Yeah.
And his story too. He saw the Beatles in England and at the Cavern Club, and it was such a wild thing to hear that story, that he seeing them at that in that club itself too,
Yeah, Peter and I were real close buddies in the Little River Band together, and he told me all those stories too, and I loved them. And he was in that time frame, and it was exciting.
Yeah.
Tony, JJ, before you go, I just have a quick question. Yep. Tony, back in that time, was there a dividing line between AOR and pop music, or is that something that we've just come to?
Well, it's funny because when my record was released, AOR meant adult-oriented rock.
Right.
Yeah.
And then now I've written a lot of songs that are like not heavy metal, but hair band type 80s rock. that have been recorded by Mark Free and FM UK. That they call that AOR, but it's more like an album oriented rock.
Yes. Yes.
It's a different thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, JJ.
So yeah, I was going to say, with Island Nights, was that just a one album deal with Epic?
I'm sorry.
Island Nights. So was that just a one album deal?
Yes, and unfortunately,
Yeah.
I got a little story. I just finished a 2-week Japanese tour, and we slayed them. I mean, our concerts were great, and I was pumped. I mean, I was feeling so good, and I had a meeting when I flew back from Tokyo to Japan to LA with Frankie Rand from Epic, and he wanted to have a meeting. So I go to the meeting at Century City Plaza, and the door of the room is closed, and I'm worried, am I late or whatever? Anyway, the door flings open. It's Ringo Starr and Barbara Bach. And he looks me up and down, and he goes, "I hope you have better luck than me." He just got from the label right before I did.
Wow.
But I thought I was walking into a really exciting meeting because we did so well in Japan, but I didn't really look at the realism of, the Japanese market is tiny.
Yeah.
Yes.
Comparatively to the world. And I mean, the Japanese knew how to market my record.
Mm-hmm.
When we went to CBS Records in Japan, their offices were set up like a schoolroom. All the tables were up against each other, and everybody had to compete. It worked. You go to LA, and everybody's got their feet up on the
right.
pole. They all have private rooms, and yeah, it's a big difference.
Interesting.
I was also going to say, Tony, I've got the 20th anniversary of Island Nights. I think it was released on Cool Sound.
Cool Sounds. I have it too. Yeah.
Yeah. So on that, there's a couple of live tracks and a couple of bonus tracks. So those bonus tracks, were they just leftovers, or were they going to be maybe something for future use, next album or something?
There's so many songs. I've released Island Nights so many times. I don't know exactly which one you're talking about, but there's songs like when we toured Japan the first time, we did a song called "On the Cold Street," and that was in the can. And I was going to do an album called "Be My Radio" second with Epic Records, but of course they didn't extend my contract, so I ended up having to put that out myself. And I used a lot of leftover tracks and new tracks that I recorded that I wanted to put on that album.
On a Cold Street is on the Cool Sounds reissue with the bonus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just checked it out.
Last one more time until tomorrow. That was from early 70s.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's on there too.
And there's a song. Here's another interesting story. There's a song on there called "Where Would We Be Without Love?" And I
also on there. Yep.
Yeah. That song was a demo I did with Richie Zito and Joey.
Interesting.
Produced it, and that song got a lot of interest from Mushroom Records in Australia, and they were interested in signing me. And of course, we were already planning on the Epic thing or the Portrait thing at that point. Anyway, one of their artists put out a song that has the same melody of that song. His name was Ian Matthews, and it was called "Shake It Baby, Shake It All You Can Tonight." If you play that song, you play my song, they're very similar, Wow. And I feel like, I don't know, it's a little, I incentivize that song, I should say. I think. But
so Mark, I know, has a lot of stuff about the Little River Band he wanted to talk to you about.
Sure.
No, I wanted to know. I mean, I actually saw Little River Band. Wayne Nelson's kind of carrying the torch for the band, the last number of years. I saw him earlier this year. But talk about the time you spent with them. That was from the early 90s, pretty much through the later 90s that you spent. How did that all transpire?
7, and it was magical. and primarily because of being able to back Glenn Shark, the great singer for, and in my opinion. I mean, John Farnham is amazing acrobatic singer in his own right. But I feel like the throatiness of Glenn Shark was LRB for me, and I was proud to be in that band with him, Derek Polici, and then Beckett and I did Graham Goebel's all his high part, and we took over what Beebe and Graham were doing because they were no longer with the band. So it was a good little mixture. And then we would do Baby Come Back in the middle of the show, and it was a big hit.
Oh,
So
wow.
it was a great time.
Ah. And then it was a few years after that you joined up with Peter again for Player, right?
Well, we departed at the same time in '97, and then he gave me a call and said, "Hey, you want to come out and do some Player shows?" And I did. I did a bunch of them, and it was great. That's when him and Ron were together, and yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of '97, I know Tom wanted to talk about the album that you did, Banging Rush, right?
Okay.
That came out.
That's a
in
very
97.
interesting album. How did you worked with Mitch Allen on that? That went on
Well,
to the fame of SR-71,
that's really
power
solo.
pop band.
I mean, that's really a solo album that I made into a band album. I used a couple of different drummers on that. Michael played on, I think, most of the stuff.
Yeah.
And Mitch Allen was one of the second engineers, but he ended up taking over more of that. And then I was bringing him into playing guitar and singing backup, because he was a very talented guy, and he added a different flavor to it, vocally, his sound and everything.
Yeah. Well, would have been just a few years later, he would have started SR-71 and kind of blew up with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure he's doing great. He's writing a lot of songs and producing. He's got his own little studio out in LA. I haven't seen him in maybe 6 years or so. It's been a while.
Yeah. Wow.
So when you had him on that was before he really became like a name, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
He just was a second engineer in the studio called
Okay.
High Heel Studios.
Okay.
Air was pretty much my main engineer, and he was like my partner in him and I co-produce a lot of that stuff. Even up until just recently, we still been recording stuff, and but Mitch, yeah, and Mitch just went off and did his own thing and did a great job. He's a very talented guy and very likable guy. People in the business really gravitated towards him because he was a likable guy.
Yeah, it was funny because I think guys like us, me, Tom, and I'm going to speak for JJ, but you tell me if that's true. But guys like us who were into like the hard rock of the 80s and 90s and then got into the AOR stuff, when that all kind of went away in the 90s, that stuff like the late 90s and early 2000s, you had the bands like the SR-71s and that sort of power pop thing, but it was more modern. And that became a huge thing for guys
Yes,
like us.
absolutely. They
Yeah.
carried the torch for a couple of years.
Yeah, definitely did.
Because
And,
those guys kind of had the look, they had melody, they were good players. The sound was a little different, but it had the same format of the hair bands and the AOR bands that we kind of like,
yeah, it was the next progression
it
from
was,
that.
yes, at that time it was, yeah.
Yeah, and God knows where it's going now. I don't know, but
Yeah, that's if I'm not talking to Mark, I'm talking to JJ about that on a regular basis. God knows where it's going. To me, with every passing year, it gets darker and darker. But that's, I guess that's, I don't know.
That's a
well,
story.
Yeah, right.
I mean, there's a big resurgence in tribute bands, and I'm in a legacy band right now. I teamed up with a bass player from Bad Company, and we do a LRB band company band, and we do dinner theaters. And all the people that grew up with that music, the ones that are lawyers and dentists and doctors, they want to recapture their youth, and they come out and spend a lot of money and enjoy nice show, and it's a good thing.
Nice.
Very positive.
Speaking for myself, we all like to recapture our youth. We wouldn't be doing this podcast if we didn't. But I really sorely miss American bands that did quality hard rock. There's maybe, from what I could count, maybe 5 that are original bands in the States that are, 25 to 30 years old that are doing like really good rock and roll music, like how we appreciate. It's just devoid in the country. It's just an amazing thing to me.
Yeah, well, back in the day, it was organic. I mean, everybody got in one room.
Right.
And
right.
they had different amps and a drum.
Mm-hmm.
Now you got drum machines, and you have auto tune, and
Yes.
you have AI, and it's a scary situation. I don't believe in any of that stuff. I mean, everybody uses auto tune if you use it lightly, so it doesn't sound like shares.
Right.
Unless you want to go for that. I mean, if you go for that, it's cool. I mean, like Kanye West, uses it. He used it, but yeah, I do miss that. I miss the organic band. I miss the Brian Wilsons and the Eric Carmens and Dan Bergs. I miss that whole thing. And hopefully more younger people are going to grow up and be like that, because the old music's not gone away. I mean, they're listening to it. The younger generations are not blind to it. They're into it as well.
Yeah.
I have a question to ask you, because I'm not a musician. I know Mark's not. I don't think JJ is either.
No.
How much is missing when a band isn't physically in the same area making a record? Is that overstated, or does it mean that much for guys to physically be in the same space and not in their own bedrooms sending files to each other? Does that make a big difference?
I think it does, because the interaction between the musicians, when it depends on who wrote the song too. I mean, you got Brian Wilson, who did Pet Sounds while the Beach Boys were in Japan.
Right.
But he knew every note
Mm-hmm.
that would go down and what it should sound like and whatever. But with bands, it's like the Beatles, when they played together, John and Paul had this energy between the two, because one wanted to be better than the other, and great energy created the Beatles. And George, trying to be as good as John and Paul, try to be the best. It just brought the best out in all of them. That's what gave us great music.
Well, I would tend to think that, when you're there together, and guys can throw ideas off each other real time, as opposed to, hey, I got this idea, I'm going to put it on tape and then send that file to somebody. Whereas you're there together, working on something, rehearsing, whatever.
Exactly. I mean, when you send a file to somebody, life gets in the way, and other things that affect you at that time may affect the way you hear that file. Whereas if you're hearing it in real time and you're face to face with the person who played it for you, you're going to be as honest as you can be, and you get more honest sound out of that, I believe.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. I think JJ, I know you wanted to touch on some stuff with some things we talked about, Jesse and the Rippers.
Yeah. I mean, I found the whole John Stamos thing and the Full House and the band and everything, because I remember watching the show, but I also remember when you guys were on a couple of episodes, you actually played live on the set, didn't you, to the audience?
Well, not really.
Not live.
Even when I did the Jimmy Fallon show, I begged John to let us play it live, and it would have been so much better if it were live. But I respect how he feels. He was a little worried about that,
Okay, I've seen the Jimmy Fallon one. I did notice that wasn't live. I did think, though, I've seen some footage, because one of the Full House episodes, you were literally playing in the middle of the episode. I remember reading you'd actually played a couple of tracks afterwards for the audience watching, the live screening.
Like the show that we fired him out of the band. That show,
Yeah.
that was live. That song we did was live.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was a keyboard player on that one.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was playing bass on the one with Scott Baio, Dr. Dare,
Yeah.
and they did shit. We did Shout, and
That must have been a lot of fun, though. Must have been, yeah.
it was so much fun because I had two little girls at home that were almost the same age as Candace and Jody.
Okay. Yeah.
So I felt like being on the set. I was at home, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And John used to take me out to lunch, and we used to talk about my life because my real life was his character. Because he was the uncle to these kids, and he was a rock and roll guy, and I was a rock and roll guy. But I had these two kids in a wife home, and I had a hit in Japan, and my wife didn't want me to go to Japan. So all of a sudden, we're doing an episode, Road to Tokyo, and I'm playing Michael Sciuto. I'm playing bass to John Stamos on that show. But it was great memories.
Yeah. I mean, it's a real time capsule thing because, you know, the show gets rerun all the time. So, you know, it never goes away.
Yeah, I play Forever every time I do the piano bar because it's a great Dennis Wilson song. And I do the theme, Everywhere You Look. And people love it. Yeah, they love it.
Do you actively still write songs to today?
Oh, yes. Yes, I have a couple of that I want to take into the studio now, but I'm just, you know, it's not an urgency like it used to be. I'm a sales representative in the day. I represent Breedlove Guitar, Zoom products, SE microphone, you know. So I do these other companies and in it as my day job, and then I perform maybe 3 or 4 times a month. And but I'd like to get back into the studio. Actually right now somebody wants to do a live simulcast type thing where he's going to videotape me recording, and so I just have to pick the song I want to do, and you know.
Interesting.
And,
well, I want to talk about 2020. You put out the album Rearview Mirror. I was just talking with Tom about that. You wanted to ask something about that.
Did you ever? I don't think you did, but that never came out on CD, right?
No.
Any plans to do that?
No, I was more thinking about putting it out on vinyl first.
Okay.
Like I'm about doing Island Nights. You know, the thing about Island Nights was when I wrote Island Nights, I wrote the string intro, and out when you get to the end of Island Nights, I don't know if you ever remember the second version that's on the Be My Radio album. It has a string section with Jim Horn playing sax. Yes. Well, that was supposed to go into Street Dancer. And that's the way I wrote that album. But Frankie Rand had different plans. They disconnected that. But I wanted to put out Island Nights the way I envisioned it originally. And also put a song on there called Start All Over Again, which Jim Horn plays a wonderful flute on, and Tom Scott plays sax, and Michael plays a wonderful fretless bass.
I bet he does.
Yeah. And I like to, you know, so that's one thing I was thinking about doing. But it all takes time, and it takes money too, and you got to consider what your market is. You know, as far as these go, the format is really not around anymore.
Well, guys like us, I mean, we'll dispute you on that.
It is and it isn't. I mean, that's kind of a misnomer because the Europeans, the Japanese, they're still very much into physical product. Maybe not so much the States. I mean, although we know guys that are very into it, like ourselves, but I think it's been a bit of a misnomer. I mean, obviously, you can't do a 5 or 10,000 press, but I think the Rearview Mirror to me has so much Toto sound in it, and Toto, I mean, there's a couple of songs they sound like Toto songs. They're phenomenal.
Oh, thank you. I wanted to put that out on P Vine Records because I was signed.
That's a good home for it.
And and we did Temptation Alley on that album, and they didn't want to do another album, so I can't make them,
Okay.
you know, and so I decided to put it out only streaming, that in that way. And I tell you, I'm getting a lot of streams. I look at my CD Baby and I go onto the global map, and it's I mean, it's like nothing to write home about. It's like gas money, but it's still.
Yeah, no, I mean, I because I think it would have done something if you put it on CD, especially if you could have got a Jap deal for it, you know.
Yeah, well, I really didn't shop it. I only talked with, and it's really the language barrier between the Japanese and myself. I mean, who's the one guy with Cool Sound Records? He's a good guy. Toshi Nakata. Him and I mean, we could kind of communicate a little better than some of these other guys, but the other guys are like, I was signed with what was the album Under the Radar? I did a double album. Half of it was live that I went over in 2012 and did a live concert at the Cotton Club, and they put out my album Under the Radar as a double album, and I can't think of this record company, but anyway, they after we put that album out, it was like they didn't really offer me another album deal, and I really didn't know how to communicate with them other than by text.
Mm-hmm.
The way they answer you back is kind of disconnected. It's like
Yeah, I've experienced the same thing.
and it kind of tired me out. And I said, I don't have time, to, translate this. So I'm just going to let it go. It is what I mean. Good music will find its way to the airwaves one way or the other. And,
Correct.
I'll just try to put it out myself somewhere, somehow. But yeah, thank you for that. I love the Under the Radar. It's got some really cool songs. Like one of the last songs I wrote was Sammy, besides the one before he passed away, which was a sad thing, was a song called It's the Way You Said Goodbye. I always love.
Wow.
Because I wrote that chorus and I wanted him to write the verses, and he wrote some really cool verses to that, and that was neat. And it's probably one of the last songs that my brother Michael played on too.
Okay.
Bass.
Wow.
Now I have a question to ask you. I'm a big soundtrack collector of obscure soundtracks. So you sang on a song called "Out of the Darkness."
I wrote it. I played every instrument.
You wrote it. Okay. I never even knew that up until a couple of years ago. I never even know that it existed. I saw it on YouTube and I stumbled across it. And I actually had a friend of mine put it on a CD single for me so I could have it part of my collection. I think it's one of the best songs you've ever done.
Oh.
And it was like some obscure movie, right?
It was the credit roll for Christopher Walken's
All American Murder.
Yeah, and I co-wrote that with a New Jersey guy, Frankie.
Frankie and the
Oh,
Knockouts.
there you go, Frankie and the Knockouts. Yeah,
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
With one of them, I took a train up to New Brunswick, and we knocked that out. He was a great guy.
We're a stone's throw from there.
New Brunswick is 15 minutes from where we're broadcasting from.
How about that?
Yeah. That is a tremendous song, and we had Stan Bush on the show, and I was trying to understand with him some of these soundtrack songs, even though you wrote it and it's on a movie soundtrack, do you not own the rights to it anymore?
That song I wrote it under being signed with Paramount Pictures Music,
so they own it.
Yeah, they own my portion of it. Of course, Frankie Previtt owns his portion of it, and it's like Amy Fisher's story. I had a song, High Life. It was when Drew Barrymore goes up to the Joey Buttafuoco's door, knocks on the door, and Mary Jo, whatever her name was.
I know that movie. I actually really like that movie.
And it's got my song playing in the car of the boyfriend that rode her up to
Really?
the house. And it's a funny thing though, because he's playing the song. It's like a rock and roll. It kind of sounds like an urgent, like a Foreigner.
Mhm.
And they listen to it, and then he changes the channel like he doesn't like the song, but glad to get it in there. It was a good, cool thing.
Nice.
So in other words, when you do that soundtrack song, if you wanted to use, say you were doing a greatest hits album of your own, you couldn't use that song. You couldn't cull that song and put it on.
Oh, I could use it.
You can't. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
In all my songs, as far as the copyright of being a writer, as far as publishing goes, like the song I wrote with Steve Dorff and John Bettis, One More Time for BJ Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
I own a small piece, but that went to Paramount Pictures Music, and also wrote a song with Steve Dorff and Cynthia Weil that I think became like the theme song for Santa Barbara, which was a soap opera. I see little things trickling in from Sony, publishing when they send me royalties, but it's
You get like the 10-cent check.
well, no, I don't get it. I've gotten those before, but no, I get more than that, but it's not anything to write home. It's not anything that you can live off of. It's just, and it's cool just to know that people, like when I go on the map of CD Baby and see that they're listening to my songs in Chile, Invercargill, New Zealand, and it's a great feeling, because the stuff that came out of my head is going into their ears, and it's a wonderful feeling. That's why I do it. I mean, I never really thought about doing this for a living. I did it out of love, I still, to this day, it's got to be real. If it's not real, it does, it's fake.
Interesting. Yeah. Was there anything, JJ, you wanted to?
I was just going to say it's pretty good for your CV that you've co-written the song with Frankie, who's actually won an Oscar for soundtrack music. So it's a pretty good thing for you for the marketing.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, because Frankie won for Dirty Dancing, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Time of my life. Yeah.
Hungry Eyes.
Yeah. That was Eric. That was Eric, wasn't it? Yeah. What did Frankie write? It was.
But he wrote it, I think, right? Eric Harmon sang it, right?
Eric Harmon sang it. I think Frankie
Was that the one that won the Oscar?
Eric,
won the Oscar?
Yeah.
Eric,
No, time of my life, wasn't it?
Time of my life. Yeah.
You're right.
He wrote that too, but he wrote part of Hungry Eyes. I think lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Eric Harmon sang it.
Yeah.
Wrote part of it.
So Bill Medley sang "Time of My Life," didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure he's living very comfortably off of that. I mean, Peter Beckett and I used to talk about that with Baby Come Back. It was a nice little, pocket full of money that he could count on every year.
Yeah. Well, that was the number one song, 1978 in America.
Yeah. I was also going to ask Tony. So I was saying to the guys before we came on there, you wrote a song for Nick Cayman.
Yes.
Yeah. So I didn't know Nick Cayman wasn't so big in the States. He was huge in Europe because he did a Levi's commercial, and he got a record deal off the back of that commercial because he was a former model. He had all the.
Madonna discovered him, right?
Say again?
Madonna discovered him.
Yeah.
Model.
It was her boyfriend for 10 minutes, I think.
Yeah. In the studio, he was a very gracious young man, very good looking, and he was a lot of fun to do that track. And I wrote that with a good friend of mine who I grew up with in Baltimore, Jack Bassetto.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And I think Nick, put some lyrics in there himself. But that was like top 5 somewhere, like in
Yeah. I
Oh,
think usually it was Germany and Japan. Usually these get a lot of airplay on the radio, and it was big album. The whole thing was really big in the UK, huge.
yeah. I love that track when I listen to it. Jeff Passetto and we put on a song called Girlfriend. I don't know if it was by Jody Watley or somebody, but we said we got to knock this off, and do a song for Nick, and we did. I mean, we just nailed it. I played the keys and yeah, I played all the instruments on that actually, except for the drums. Steve Dubin played drums on that. Yeah.
I was also going to ask the track you did for Don Johnson, because Don was on Epic. Did that come about because of your previous contract and dealings? You were still friends with the same people?
It came about through my publisher, who got it to somebody that was doing his record, and he just really loved that song. I mean, the joke is he said it knocked the socks off, but I said, well, he never wore socks, did he? But
That's funny.
I was proud to be on that album because they had, Petty was on there. I mean, it was a lot of, it was a good first album for him. I mean, he really wasn't a vocalist, but I mean, he had the Miami Vice vibe going, and
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a who's who of musicians on the album. It's a great sounding album.
yeah, definitely.
Right. Was there anything you wanted to?
No,
No?
I'm tapped out.
Anything more, JJ?
So my next part is about the
Okay.
Bay City Rollers. So they're a little bit before my time. I was a
Come
small
on.
kid when they were big.
Kidding me?
So I was going to ask, so I mean, again, they were absolutely huge, and for about 5 or 6 years in the UK, our big show was called Top of the Pops. They were wearing the tartan clothes and everything. So did you just write the one track for them?
Yeah,
That's My Lisa, isn't it?
actually, I was pitching my tapes as an artist to Jimmy Einer, who was a producer. I'm sure you heard of Jimmy Einer.
Sure.
And he was doing Eric Carmen at that time, and he really liked the song called Melissa. I wrote it with a Spanish name, Melisa, but he had a daughter named Lisa, and he goes, Tony, I love your song, but I do you mind if I would change it to My Lisa? And I said no. And so they put it out, and I tell you, it's the first time I ever heard one of my songs come through the radio, and I was in a parking lot, and I just broke down in tears. It was like the first time my music came back to me on a radio, and much to me. It was, 1976, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great feeling. And I still love it I play it too when I play out and I do some of my songs. I'll do their version of it,
Yeah.
1976. JJ was in diapers and I was a senior in high school.
I was 4, so maybe I'd come out.
All right, I would hope you were out of diapers by then.
I was 6, so I wasn't far behind.
Yeah.
Or far ahead.
The funny thing is about the Bay City Rolls as well. A lot of Americans didn't know they were from Scotland. They actually thought they were an American band.
Really?
Yeah. It's the name, Bay City Rollers. It's.
You're right. They were kind of marketed that way in the States too, that they were a California band.
Yeah.
But
it works better. Scotland's grey and raining all day. So
you're right about that.
Yeah.
But I mean, the whole garb, with the pants and all that, when I look back on that, I thought it was silly back then, but when I look at it now, it was pretty cool.
It was cool.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't really care for them because I was like 17, 18 years old.
Yeah, we didn't like the Monkees either, but I mean,
you're right. The Monkees were pushing the limit. Like Bay City Rollers was over the top.
Oh, I know. I get you.
Yeah. And then the Monkees were kind of formulated to be like a Beatles type of band in the States.
Definitely. Yeah.
They were manufactured.
A manufactured Beatles band. Yeah.
But it came, Mike Nesmith was a very talented songwriter and guitar player. And Peter Tork was hanging out with Buffalo Springfield, and before that, and I mean, and Davy Jones was on the Ed Sullivan Show the same day the Beatles were.
That's right.
He was in the cast of Oliver.
Yes.
Yeah.
Davy Jones is the interesting one because he was a real heartthrob in England in the 60s. So he came off the back of the Beatles stuff, and he, moved to the States, and he was this, cool guy in the Monkees, the good-looking guy, the small guy. Everyone had this,
Oh yeah. The TV show was huge on Channel 4. Huge.
So the movie was called Head, wasn't it? The Monkees movie. Yeah. I think Jack Nicholson wrote that movie.
Did he really?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen it, but it's worthy.
Same thing, just to make money. Jack Nicholson was with Roger Corman making these low-budget films, and basically wrote Head, and they took it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Interesting.
Did you guys ever see Trad Dad?
No.
It was Richard Lester's first rock and roll movie, and they asked the Beatles to be in it, and luckily John Lennon declined to be in it. Chubby Checker was in it, Del Shannon, but I just watched it on YouTube, and when you watch it, it resembles Hard Day's Night,
right?
Which to me is my favorite rock and roll movie ever.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
What year was that movie? That movie was what, like 66?
What, Hard Day's Night?
No, the one you were just talking about, Trad Dad.
62.
62. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, but the Beatles, they just got Ringo, and then they just scored their first hit in November of 62 with Love Me Do. It just charted at number 17. And so that was the beginnings of the Beatles then.
Okay.
But I'm glad they didn't do that movie, because that would have really poured water on their entrance was just so amazing, with I Want to Hold Your Hand coming out, back when before I Want to Hold Your Hand came out, Bobby Rydell and the Four Seasons would do songs where vocals were this loud and music was here.
Yes.
And then I Want to Hold Your Hand came out, and all the wall of sound, and there was no turning back from there,
No.
I'm right in thinking Love Me Do was only a US single, wasn't it? I think it was only released in the US as a single.
Well, it was released in England first in November of 62.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did it go number one on the Billboard in the States?
Well, no, it charted. I think it wasn't released in America. It was only released. First it was released in 62. Yeah. That's what I read.
Right. I'm not sure. Yeah, I remember my dad's a big Beatles fan. I remember him telling me there was one of the early ones was only an American release. It maybe wasn't Love Me Do then. I'm not sure.
Well, they put out My Bonnie and Cry for a Shadow, and with Tony Sheridan. That was early on, and Burt Camford produced that. He was the Beatles' first producer, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, didn't know that. Yeah,
I didn't know that either.
No. So most of your music education then in the 60s was just the Beatles. What about the Stones? Did you like the Stones?
It was all of it. I love Ray Davies. I love Stevie Wonder, Paul Simon. I just love songs. I love songwriting. And that's been my whole life. Brian Wilson, to this day, I still listen to his music. He was just amazing. We are so lucky that we lived in the same time frame as Lennon and McCartney.
Yes.
Wilson, Stevie Wonder. A plethora of just amazing genius musicians. Yeah,
for sure. Were you a Dave Clark 5 fan?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, but Dave Clark, there was a time when I actually, when I would watch Sullivan, I say, I think I like these guys.
Me too. That's why I asked.
But
Dave Clark, when I saw them on the Beatles, I was
really
on Sullivan. I thought they were like,
they were right there. But they were, when you look back in retrospect, they didn't have the songs.
No.
They didn't have the prolificity of Lennon and McCartney.
No.
and they were like an act. They were like, you know, the black coats, the white pants,
Yeah.
the Beatle boots, and and I love Mike Smith and everything. It's sad how he passed away and everything, but um, yeah, I love them. I mean, I love their Because. What a beautiful song.
Oh yeah.
You know? Oh,
Then I was a nut for the new wave of British heavy metal. That not heavy metal. Like Paul Revere and the Raiders, and what the hell did they call that back in the day? It was the new wave of
Not
something.
my time, sorry.
Yeah, I know. I'm on all the American bands that were trying to be British, like Paul Revere. And,
yeah, I get it. I dug it too because we were young and we just didn't really look into it like that.
Sam the Sham and the Pharaohs. Yeah.
And what was I think wasn't it Cynthia Weil that wrote Kicks?
Yes.
Barry Man and Cynthia Weil wrote Kicks. I love that song.
I like
great.
that song too. Yeah.
There was a time when I was in LA and I ran into Phil Vogt and he wanted me to join his band and go to Vegas. That's when he left the band and he was the bass player. Fang, that was the name. But it wasn't the same as the British, you know, Ray Davies,
Yeah.
Gary Brooker, and Procol Harum. Oh my God!
Even the early Who stuff was really edgy.
Yeah. Pictures of Lily.
Yeah, the real early Who stuff was super edgy for that time.
Can't Explain. Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
And then it was the bubblegum. That was the other thing too, because I was that age. The bubblegum invasion. All of those bands that was all the rage for a while.
A 1910 Fruit Gum Company.
Yeah. I loved all that stuff. It was good songs. It was like, well, and it was, you know what? Like the Beatles set you up for a band. You know, the two guitar players, the bass player, the drummer, the co-lead vocals. So all those bands had that. Like we that kind of like the Beatles set the template.
Yes, they were the template. They were the Bible.
Yes.
And we had the Turtles here in America. They were one of those.
Oh yeah. He just died the other day.
I do in my piano bar. I do Happy Together. You know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we just lost Mark Fulman just
a couple of days ago.
And I do Bend Me, Shape Me on the piano because it's a good song.
That's a great song.
Great song. You know, good songs are good songs, no matter if you play them on the record or if you just play them with a guitar or a piano. You know. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anything else, JJ, before we go?
No, I think I'm good. But one thing I find really fascinating is that each sort of decade you've gone through, you haven't stuck to anything. You've adapted, haven't you? You've done different things, and you've progressed in your own music, not just the decade, but your own style, your own music.
Yeah, I don't try to follow trends because trends are trends and they go away. I just try to be as good at what I can be good at. And you're the best at what you do. Nobody can be as good as you at what you do because it's you. It's real. I love realism, and that's an important thing. And so, yeah, no, I love music so much. I mean, there's probably going to be a time when people are going to tell me, hey, put the guitar down, turn the mic off. Hasn't happened yet.
But still, that's up to you, not them.
Yeah,
that's true. I mean, I just love playing. I play for children sometimes. I play for older people. I just love the beauty of giving people their life back to them through music. You know, I think it was Peter Townsend has said he just loves to give music back to the people the way he received it. And
that's an interesting take.
Because it's like a bookmark in time. It's like looking at a photo. When you listen to an old song, you go, I remember where I was or who I was with, or, music just takes you down memory lane. It's just a wonderful thing.
Sure.
Yeah. Definitely.
Well,
that's
Tony,
why people like ourselves, that's why we still play physical formats, CDs or vinyl, because it takes you back to when that album came out. It's great times.
Definitely.
Well, I'm glad we had this conversation because I'm going to contemplate maybe doing a CD run with. I was thinking of just taking all my favorite things and doing a new CD
Well, that too. You could do that also.
Yeah, because like my favorite stuff that like there's some songs like Counting Every Heartbeat that a lot of people haven't heard. It's a great song and because it doesn't get the right venue for people to listen to it on, you know.
Mm.
So, but yeah, definitely. It was great having this conversation with you guys. We all love the same thing, you
We
know.
do.
Yeah,
You know,
totally.
We're
Yeah,
kindred spirits.
yeah,
even though we're on corners of the world.
Right.
yeah,
Exactly.
definitely.
Well,
Definitely,
Tony, I wanted to ask you. I've been doing this, and I started it a few episodes ago with some of the guests we've had on. I kind of throw a couple little like off the wall questions, like lighthearted stuff, kind of end the show with, and just fun stuff. So if we could do that with you, first thing I wanted to ask you was, what's something like unexpected that you're such a consummate musician. We talked about you've been doing this for so long, but outside of music, do you have a hobby, something people would never expect from like Tony Sciuto?
Uh, a hobby? No, I mean, I always wanted to be a baseball player. I'm watching the Orioles now. My team, they didn't do so well this year, but um, I love to walk. I'm a sales rep. I go to stores and sell product to stores. I don't know. I'm just a regular guy. I love women. Just, you know.
Well, talking about and this guy right here next to me, he's a huge baseball fan. But I'm going to ask you an either or question to end it. And you just give me whatever your favorite is. I'm going to throw two names out at you because you have kind of a history with both in a way. But I'm going to say to you, Cal Ripken Jr. or Mickey Mantle.
Well, I've written songs about both of them.
Right.
No, I mean, I admire Cal Ripken for what he's done, but I watched Mickey Mantle in 1959 in Memorial Stadium, and he was my idol. And I just don't think they don't make them like that anymore. You know?
No,
Yeah.
no, for sure.
And the song,
Mickey Mantle is still got to be one of the top five greatest baseball players in the
oh
history
yeah,
of the game.
oh definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
And it's a shame that his legs broke down and he had a bit of a
Yeah.
drinking problem
And
too.
I mean, he played impaired too. You know.
Yes. I just say it's,
And he still
yeah,
was.
it's just incredible. If you look at his numbers, it's just incredible.
They don't make people like him.
No.
And what was Martin's name?
Billy
Billy Martin.
Martin. Yeah.
Muskowren and
Mhm.
the Ford. They don't make them like Yogi Berra. Those guys were just amazing, you know.
Well,
And,
the game has changed a lot, as all
oh,
professional sports are, you know.
yeah, I'm not crazy about the second base on the 10th inning. That's just
My feeling with that is they should at least go 2 innings. Go to the 11th inning.
yeah, because
And
right. Yeah, it makes it easy for the first team. The song Mickey Mantle that I wrote is about my brothers, my older brother Mario, who we lost, and my brother Michael, and how we wanted to be as good as him, or we wanted to kick his ass. But when you go through life and you realize how hard it is to do what he was doing,
Mm-hmm.
and I equated it to the music business, of course. But yeah, that meant a lot to me, and I did that about my brothers and I because we grew up with baseball and music. It was
Me
kind
too.
of
Those are to this day. It's still at 66 years old. It's still my two favorite things in the
yeah,
world,
and
music and baseball.
yeah. I don't know. Michael's. I don't think he's into baseball anymore, but he was when he was younger. I just still love it. I mean,
Me too.
Yeah. Who are you rooting for?
I'm a Met fan since 1965.
We just gave you a nice, good player, Cedric Mullins.
Yeah.
He's been awful.
I know he has been, but he can be good. I mean, I just think he's disconnected.
He might be. I think a lot. It's weird. All the guys the Mets picked up seem to be really disconnected. We got Helsley from the Cardinals, but he's not closing anymore. So not closing anymore. He's like out of sorts. And Mullins, he's in one day, he's out, but they're platooning him, and it's
consistency really makes a big difference.
yes.
We have a lot of players on the Orioles that we bench, and every once in a while they'll flourish, but it's better when they're consistent.
We do the same thing. And that's just the immediacy of life today. Like if you have 2 bad games, you're on the bench. The idea of sticking with a guy for 4 to 6 weeks, it's just, we do the same thing.
Instant gratification society we're in today. It's like people don't listen. When you look at like streams of how far people listen to certain songs, they don't really get far into songs,
Yes, exactly.
Videos.
Right. Yeah.
Attention span.
Cell phones have ruined a lot of that for the younger generation. We still appreciate it, but
look, we're so lucky that we grew up and I think you guys are younger, but growing up in the 60s, there was a plethora of groundbreaking artists. You had, of course, the Beatles, the Who, Cream, Led Zeppelin, it's just on and on and on. Groundbreaking, just starting new things that nobody had ever done before and set the tone for what happened in the 70s,
Even like Vanilla Fudge, right?
Love Vanilla Fudge.
How groundbreaking was that?
I loved Vanilla Fudge because they were the Young Rascals on acid.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
And I mean, you could talk to Carmen and he'll tell you he wanted to be Dino Danelli, but
just everybody wanted to be
it's crazy. And but the first time I saw Zeppelin was they were opening for the Vanilla Fudge at the Baltimore Civic Center. Michael and I were there.
Was that 71?
69, I think.
Wow, you saw them in 69 in the States?
There's nobody in the audience. We were in the front row, and they came out and they just blew us.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, it was a great night.
Nice.
Wow. You know what? On that note, wow, that's tremendous. No, you can't.
Tony, we appreciate this tonight. JJ, we thank you for joining us again too. But thanks for all the stories, Tony. Appreciate it.
Thank you too. I had a great time going down memory lane and talking about it.
That's what we try to do. I always say that, going back memory lane. All right.
Take care. Have a great night.
All right, you too.
Take care,
Thank
brother.
you. Bye.
Take care.